Hello friends, and welcome back for some Ethereum technical analysis. What have we got on the go here? If I start off by looking at the 4-hour time frame, by the way, I'm Rocky Outcrop, and I really genuinely appreciate it for everybody who likes, who comments, who subscribes. Subscribers right now are very valuable as I look towards, creating this channel as a monetized one, and as well for the growth of the thing, and for people who share this video with a friend. Remember, always a friend of yours is a friend of ours. They're more than welcome to join us along the road here. Thank you so much. Let's take a look at the prices, and you can see here that as the prices have come back down to what we could easily identify as a fairly crucial level, and I just zoom on in so you can see it a bit easier over here where we have this low coming in at 197. We saw previously 197 over there, and down here 194, but just the sheer amount of wicks and everything that come in at that area, I think it's fair enough to say that this generally speaking, as we've seen wicks coming down here and touch this so often, that this line is indeed some sort of support line for us. Now, of course, as we know, the downward sloping nature of this, likewise on Bitcoin currently, would lend itself to a descending triangle formation, and as well this peak here and this one here could easily be an Adam and Eve, and in fact this shoulder, this head, and this shoulder could overall be a head and shoulders formation. I'm more than happy to include that in this at this stage, given that those are reversal patterns versus the upward price action we've seen for quite a long time running up to this point. Of course, this is just the 4-hour time frame, so that's less significant, but if I look from left to right on this thing, you can see it stretches 80 bars more or less. So should we have some sort of breakdown below here in terms of the overall structure of this thing on this time frame, that is satisfactory in terms of how much effort has been put in. Should there be a measured move off the back of it, be aware that that would take the prices all the way down to 177. That will come as no surprise to anybody who's subscribed to this channel. Like, once again, subscribe for daily technical analysis here. We're a great community. We're the best. We're the best on YouTube. Everybody involved here is super friendly so far. I haven't met a single asshole. So, and by the way, that constitutes a thank you to everybody who's part of the crowd. That's a compliment for you. I think that you're all wonderful people. Thank you so much. So that's what we could be looking at in general. So we really would like to see the prices turn around at this 196 area and come back up the way. Overall, we could say we've broken out in a sense from this area where we had an ascending ascending support line here, complemented by a descending support line there in a more or less symmetrical triangle formation. Although the volume that's come along with this so far hasn't been significant enough to say that it's definitely an official sort of breakout, and I would say that that chimes fairly well with this line here, that if in the bigger picture of things, going back up to the 24-hour time frame, this doesn't be a fake out, as we've spoken about so often where the fake out territory would be, then you could see the prices come down first off past that line to this area where there's this magnolia line, and the volume could potentially increase throughout the period of the day, or indeed tomorrow and the next day, as we look towards breaking down past this 236, if that actually ultimately becomes the case. Breaking down past the 236 Fibonacci makes it a valid Fibonacci retracement, and you could look towards 172, 156, and even indeed as low as 138 thereafter on this being fairly negative. Indeed, though, this move, as we spoke about, which is still visible on the 24-hour time frame in terms of head and shoulders type formations, could see the prices just coming down to where the 200 simple is here, and perhaps fill this out as a descending broadening wedge, something we have spoken about very often on the channel. How can we negate that? Well, first off, we'll need to see the prices go back above 200, but not just 200, really 203, 204, try and make its way up there, and then indeed past 210, where we have the top end of this sort of this resistance, this general area, 210 to 213, 14, 15, and perhaps try then and test up. If it does go into this area, it could indeed test up towards 220 thereafter, giving you fairly good, fairly decent, easy to manage, low risk. Now, I'm not a financial advisor, none of this financial advice, easy to manage trades, 5%. It should actually be more than enough if you're not a greedy person. Indeed, if you longed it from there, that would be closer to 10, more like 8.5%. But indeed, if you're sort of getting ahead, if you want to look at this as being a confirmation line and look down the way way, you can have a 10% move towards the downside. There's plenty of trading should some form of breakout come along. Now, of course, this could just simply continue as it is. In the meantime, there's no guarantees of anything, as every moment in trading is a unique one with its own unique circumstances. Past performance, including patterns, is actually not a predictive indicator for the future. It's just a good guide for managing your risk. In terms of managing your risk, that can be done fairly easily at 196, 203, 210, 215, 220. Looking further down, 185, easy turnaround point there. Seen it happen a few times already in the past, for instance, over here in this section of price action. And indeed, there's enough supply and demand potentially in here to see that happen, despite the fact that VPVR, is showing it now, it wasn't peaking at that point, but as you can see, there are peaks coming in here. Indeed, though, overall, it does look like from the VPVR perspective, just on the 4-hour time frame, including this price action in there, looking out the way, that this line becomes more and more significant at the 382 for a potential for some bouncing in that area. As we see here as well, the volume, it continues to more or less taper off, and bring up the oscillators and ask a couple of questions here on the 4-hour time frame before moving on to Chainlink Technical Analysis. By the way, thank you so much for tuning in. Is this low lower than this low here? It's not. It potentially is ever so slightly. Actually, just bring it up and zoom in. Is it ever so slightly lower? Yes, it is ever so slightly lower. So it's more like consolidating, and we can't really look to this for divergence. Although, if you wanted to, you could say that this area and this area, as part of a downward trend, had a low here and a lower low here, whereas on the RSI, well, actually, no, that is ever so slightly lower, so that's not bullish divergence. This low and these lows, of course, are quite different. So let's just see here. Yes, so that one, it's this one here, isn't it? Yes. So this low and this low, while this is higher than it, is managed to avoid having bullish divergence by virtue of the fact that it closed high enough for that. Maybe the 12-hour time frame would be more revealing for us. It's more revealing in the sense that you can quite clearly see actually here that this shape of this has not managed to really put in too many lows. Currently, the current candle, if it closes where it is and the RSI stays where it is and the stochastic stays, well, no, the stochastic's actually convergent. So is the MACD, but there's a potential for some bullish divergence, but that's rather, that's kind of coming from the hopium playbook as opposed to the reality playbook. We'll have to see how this thing pans out in the near future. Is this quite yet breakout or fake out? Well, at the minute, it's just acting like fake out. If we see things go past these lines, we'll have a lot more information and we can just kind of tally that together. And I hope that I've given you the groundwork to be able to do that on your own, because of course, I'm not streaming live 24/7, but you can get in touch with me in the Discord, although I have been fairly bad recently at responding to comments in a hurry. If you leave a comment down below in the YouTube video, of course, as well, I will get back to you at some point, and I do read all of them and appreciate them hugely. So thank you so much. I'm moving on to Chainlink. Check out the Bitcoin video that's already published, and of course, as well, later on after that, there will be a Tezos video too. Thank you for tuning in. I'll catch you next time. I've been Rocky Outcrop. Share this video and channel with a friend, because a friend of yours is a friend of ours. Thanks again.